Good afternoon, everyone. I trust that you are good. As we wait for more people to join, I would like to inform you that this is recorded. It is live streamed on YouTube as well. So may we also kindly please welcome Francis to just make an opening, and then maybe we can begin just after that without wasting any more time. Thank you. Francis, over to you.
Thank you, Loreto. Can you hear me?
Yes, you are audible.
All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you can hear me now. And as we wait for more people to join, I would want to take this opportunity to welcome you all to this webinar today. For those who do not know Ethic Expert and the kind of webinar series that we run, Ethic Expert is a non-profit company based in Pretoria in South Africa with a mandate to build capacity around research ethics, research integrity, and responsible conduct of research. We focus our work quite a lot in enhancing the capacity of research ethics committee in and for Africa. And we do a whole lot of different programs to achieve this goal. And today, I have the pleasure to be talking to you around leveraging digital technology to enhance ethics review in public health emergencies. This webinar is informed by the current situation that is going on, especially in DRC, Congo, and in Uganda, where there's been cases of Ebola. And as someone who has been involved in ethics review myself, and as a part of the mandate to promote the capacity of research ethics committees in Africa, it is a critical moment for us to try to reflect on how our ethics committees are surviving in this situation where there's a lot of tensions around what gets tested and what gets approved in order to make sure that the safety and the welfare of research participants or potential research participants is always promoted. And the custodians of this particular mandate are the research ethics committees. And at this situation where research ethics committees are expected to be at their best in terms of ensuring that the welfare and the safety of research participants are promoted or safeguarded, it is also the same situation where researchers are all out there ensuring that they are able to test out the innovations and clinical trial products that they believe can save the lives of those who are at risk. And it is an important and very interesting discussion for us to listen and hear what the experts have to tell us today in order to inform the current practice, but also to inform our future vision, because I would say, public health emergencies are here to stay. This is not the last. And as we engage in this very timely conversation, it should inform us about the future practice in terms of how research ethics committees are navigating through this complex scenario, and more so how the era of digital health and digital platforms can inform the current and future practice. And with those few remarks, I want now to hand over back to Loreto. Thank you, Loreto.
Thank you so much, Francis. Yes, I can hear you. Sorry. Okay, I see that a few people have joined, but I think maybe we can just continue and then the rest will catch up with us. So as Francis had said, my name is Lerato, and I will be the moderator for today's webinar on leveraging digital technology to enhance ethics review in public health emergencies. So today we do have Prof. Sodi and Monsaka, Helen Opolot, and Prof. Alanji Njai. It is unfortunate that Francis Crowley is unavailable today. He won't be able to join due to traveling delays. So I would first like to read their bios and then we can delve into today's discussion. So firstly, thank you, Prof, for opening your camera, and to the rest of the panel, I would also like if you open your cameras as well. So reading the bios, we have Prof. Sodi Monsaka, who is a neuroimmunology and infectious disease biomedical specialist, serving as professor of medical microbiology and immunology and Dean of School of Health Sciences at the University of Zambia. He also chairs the University of Zambia Biomedical Research Ethics Committee. His research focuses on the pathoimmune mechanisms of HIV-associated neurocognitive disorders, interactions with drugs of abuse and co-infections such as malaria and tuberculosis. He investigates central peripheral nervous system reservoirs of HIV and immune dysfunction in HIV and Kaposi's sarcoma virus infection, while also exploring the role of commodities like hypertension in Zambia. Prof. Monsaka holds leadership roles nationally and internationally, including chairperson of the National Science and Technology Council, member of the UNESCO's Expert Committee of the Neurotechnology Ethics, and whose Expert Committee on COVID Immunity Passports. And lastly, he is committed to advancing research, innovation, and ethical governance in Zambia and beyond. Thank you. And secondly,
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prof. And secondly, we have Helen Opolot, who is the head of the Research Management and Quality Assurance Division at the Uganda National Council for Science and Technology. She provides strategic leadership in strengthening research governance system and coordinating the ethical review and oversight of research involving human and animal participants in Uganda. Her work focuses on enhancing regulatory efficiency and fostering multi-stakeholder collaboration within the science, technology, and innovation ecosystem. She has contributed to the development of key operational guidelines that support ethical and responsible research in Uganda, including frameworks that strengthen preparedness for public health emergencies. She also plays a key role in facilitating ethical and regulatory oversight of research during disease outbreaks and other public health emergencies by supporting researchers through expedited review processes, coordinated regulatory mechanisms, and guidance that enables timely, scientifically sound, and ethically robust research while safeguarding the rights, safety, and well-being of research participants. Helen is a member of the African Integrity Network and has contributed sharing Uganda's experiences and best practices in research governance and research integrity at the World Conferences on Research Integrity. Thank you, Helen. And lastly, we have Prof. Alanji Njai, who is a technical leader, thought leader, and scholar with broad educational research interests at the intersection of biomedical science, environmental science, public health, anthropology, and indigenous African knowledge-based system. Apart from being an associate professor of medicine at California University of Science and Medicine, Colton, California, and University of Sierra Leone, he also serves as a director of University of Wisconsin Medicine Global Health Institute, One Health Center West Africa. Dr. Njai is also the founder and chief strategist of Project 1808 and College in Kabbalah. Since December 2014, Dr. Njai led Ebola acute viral hemorrhagic fevers. He is a member of the College of Experts for the Africa Research Excellence Fund in Gambia, where he chairs selection and mentoring of postdoctoral fellows across Africa. He is the current managing editor of Sierra Leone Journal of Biomedical Research, a member of SERI Leon Ethics Committee. He also serves as the West African Health Organization Director of Stakeholder Researcher for the West African Network of Ethics Committees. From 2011 to 2016, Dr. Njai was a senior scientist and toxicologist, global research and development. He also serves as the chairman of the One Health Technical Working Group and co-chair of the West African Consortium for Clinical Research on Epidemic Pathogens. He is a principal investigator and member of the Upward Pandemic Defense Coalition and a co-principal investigator for the University of Tokyo Pandemic Preparedness, Infection, and Advanced Research Center. In December 2019, he was recognized in the list of the top 100 of 1,000 most influential Black scientists in America by Cell Mentor. And lastly, in 2022, he was selected as the Kansas University African Studies Center African Affiliate Fellow. So thank you so much. These are the bios of our panelists for the day. And they are also attached in our webinar flyer, should you have any interest to read further about them. So thank you so much for this. And as Francis has given some bit of background on today's topic, but I would also like to add that public health emergencies such as Ebola outbreaks demand that research be conducted rapidly, but without compromising ethical standards. Research ethics committees are therefore faced with challenging tasks of ensuring that important research is reviewed thoroughly, while also responding within unprecedented timeframes. So today's discussion brings together experts to reflect on how we can strengthen ethics review system, leverage digital technologies responsibly, and build a future-ready ethics review ecosystem across Africa. So to begin our discussion, I'd like to first turn to Helen. Uganda has gained considerable experience in responding to Ebola outbreaks, offering valuable lessons for ethics review during public health emergencies. Now, since the recent Ebola outbreak, what mechanisms has the National Ethics Committee in Uganda put in place to ensure that the timely and robust approval of Ebola-related research proposals, and what have been the key determinants of the success of this process?
Okay, thank you very much, Loraro, and for the introduction. I also want to thank you for organizing this webinar and to thank everyone who is with us today. So Uganda's main mechanism for timely and robust approval of Ebola-related research protocols has been the Joint Scientific and Ethical Review Mechanism that is convened by the Uganda National Council for Science and Technology. So this joint review mechanism brings together the national regulatory agencies and institutional review committees, that is the research ethics committees, and subject matter experts in a given field. And this mechanism brings them together in a single meeting to deliberate on a research protocol that is there presented. So this joint review mechanism is meant to optimize the turnaround time for those protocols during the public health emergencies, like during the Ebola time. And during that time, we had when the surge was really on, we had about 2 protocols that we really reviewed speedily. And the PI is now actually conducting their study. And that mechanism also is aimed to improve the quality of the proposal that is presented to us. So the key successful determinants of this joint review mechanism include a clear role and responsibilities of all the regulatory bodies and research ethics committees that are involved. So Uganda has established a well-defined mandate for each of the regulatory bodies that is involved in the research oversight process in Uganda. So UNCST coordinates the National Research Registration and Clearance process. Then the Uganda National Health Research Organization provides oversight for health research and advises on national health research priorities. The National Drug Authority registers all clinical trials, investigational products, pharmacovigilance, while the accredited research ethics committees conduct independent ethical and scientific review of protocols at the institutional levels. So during the Ebola emergencies, each institution understands its role with the regulatory pathway and allows reviews to proceed efficiently. Then the second mechanism which we have is the joint review mechanism, which I have mentioned, that brings together the regulatory and the ethics review bodies. So instead of the researcher submitting protocols sequentially to the Research Ethics Committee, to National Council, to NDA, to all those relevant meetings. So all the relevant stakeholders are brought together in a single meeting. And UNCST has done this on behalf of all those regulatory bodies. And we are the ones who really convene and have those meetings. So as UNCST, we have noted that this reduces the duplication of efforts. It minimizes conflicting recommendations from all the different regulatory bodies. It shortens the approval timelines, and it promotes harmonized decision-making while maintaining a rigorous scientific and ethical review standards. So the third determinant is having a disease-specific expertise. So the Ebola research often involves highly specialized scientific, clinical, biosafety, and ethical issues that require expert knowledge beyond the available expertise within the typical REC setting. So Uganda's joint review mechanism allows the participation of the disease experts, clinicians, laboratory scientists, biosafety specialists, statisticians, community representatives, and other specialists where necessary. So these come together and assess the scientific validity, participant safety, infection prevention measures, and the feasibility of the proposed intervention. So Uganda made a press release regarding those experts who continued to defeat Ebola. This we have a list of those experts who have really helped in the disease control. So the fourth is quorum of the Primary Research Ethics Committee that is going to host that Ebola study. So even during the public health emergencies, Uganda maintains the requirement that the Primary Research Ethics Committee reviewing the study must have minimum number of members with diversity, and it is required to constitute a quorum before decisions are made. So the quorum ensures that ethical decisions are made by are not made by only a few individuals, but instead represent multidisciplinary perspectives, including the scientific, ethical, legal, community, and the lay viewpoints. So these safeguard the independence, legitimacy, and ensuring that accelerated review does not compromise participant protection. So in summary, these determinants create an integrated emergency ethics review system that balances the speed, the scientific rigor, and participant protection. So this integrated approach has enabled Uganda to maintain high standards of ethics while responding rapidly to the public health emergencies. I thank you, and back to you, Lerato.
Thank you so much for highlighting the key determinants of the outbreak and the steps that you have taken further. And now I would like to move to Prof. Njai. Are you with us? Are you audible? Can you hear us before I pose the question to you?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, would it be, oh, thank you so
Yeah,
much. And
sure.
now that we've heard Helen, I would love then to move to you
Sure.
and to pose this question to you. So Sierra is one of the countries that has had worst hit by the 2014 to 2016 West Africa Ebola outbreak. So what lessons did you learn, and how can such lessons be used to effectively manage the current Ebola outbreak from the perspective of research ethics committees?
Thank you very much for having me. And
You are breaking.
experiences from the Ebola outbreak. Can you hear me?
Now I can hear you, yes.
Okay. Can you hear me? Sorry. Like, hello?
We can hear you, Prof. Proceed.
It looks like Prof is experiencing network issues, so maybe we can just give him a minute to see if he's able to rejoin. And in the meantime, I'd like to say if you have any questions, please post them on our chat box, and we will be able to attend to them right after we are done with this panel discussions. Thank you. It seems that he has dropped off, or maybe we can just move to the next question and pose it to Prof. Sodi. And your question is, am I audible?
Yes, you are clear.
Okay, thank you. So your question would be, as one of the most biggest consumers of the digital
Can you
technology,
hear me?
is it Prof. Njai or you're back? Yes, we can hear you now. Prof. Njai, can you hear me? It looks like he has some
Hello?
connectivity issues. Prof. Njai, can you hear me?
Okay, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
It looks like he
Yes, I
had...
can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay, did you get my question, or would you like me
Hello?
to repeat the question again?
I got your question. I got it. Can you hear me?
Yes, now I can hear you.
Okay. So I think some of the experiences we got from Sierra Leone, really the catalyst for setting up our ethics committee in Sierra Leone, the Sierra Leone Ethics and Scientific Review Committee. And I mean, it started much earlier, but it was really strengthened because of the Ebola outbreak. Because during the Ebola outbreak in Sierra Leone, we were getting all sort of interventions coming in. People were trying to come in with all sort of unproven therapies and vaccines, and trying to engage the communities in diverse ways. So it was very important at that time for us to be able to strengthen our ethics committee in terms of protecting the communities. So one of the things that really worked for us, some of the things that worked for us is developing, for instance, community liaisons, working with the communities. And then when we, for instance, introduced the vaccines into the communities, we worked with both the community liaisons, but also had the social scientists also from the are also involved. So a key 4 things that were important, 4 R's that were important in our experiences here. 1 R was reciprocal, the reciprocal relationship. How do we ensure that there is reciprocity in terms of communications with communities, whether it's trials or whether it's various interventions? And the other R that became important is about relatability. How do you relate with the communities? How do people, in terms of interventions or engagement with the communities, are in a way relating with the communities? And then the other very important was building the relationships with the communities. And in fact, that was very important when we built, engage people to build these relationships with communities. A lot of the interventions started working because trust was built. And then it reduced the fear, it reduced the anxiety, and then it also helped to get the community also taking ownership and taking having voice and agency in the interventions. And then finally, it was about respect, engaging communities in a much more respectable way. And so all of it was also where, for instance, our ethics committee was also building on rapid communication with our other, for instance, our other regulatory partners like the pharmacy board, but also communicating with experts in the field when it comes to kind of reviewing certain documents or certain vaccines, bringing in those people. So, and then communicating with also communities, ensuring that the communication, the language itself, speaks to the communities in a way that they can understand what it is and what is expected of them, and that the consenting forms also have that translated in such a way that communities understand what is going to be involved. So there were a lot of things that were put in place, and now I think some of those are helping us more in terms of being better in emergency situations, or even for doing expedited ethics reviews, but also continually engaging communities in ethics and in outbreak preparedness. So currently the ethics committee works closely with the Public Health Agency, the Ministry of Health, the other entities, other stakeholders, and so we ensure that when there is something that needs to come, we are ahead of it, but also we can provide some guidance. We can also help in terms of facilitating some of the questions that may be required, but also ensure that we adequately bring in the community concerns also through community members who are part of the committee, but also other social scientists who are also involved, and then and also other experts, including legal experts and others who are looking at different aspects of it. But the fact that we try to do some of the proactive engagement also helps in during emergencies, for instance, helps in expediting processes, but also ensuring that we do the due diligence necessary to protect the communities as well. So over to you.
Okay, thank you. I see that you highlighted quite a few of the key ethical principles that you guys have been ensuring that you combine too. I heard that you mentioned that you ensure that you work ahead. So I want to ask or pose this question back to you, to asking as to how do you ensure that you work ahead these concerns? Are there any measures that you've taken so far, or are you still working towards them?
So so for instance, we know we have like an Ebola prophylaxis trial, a protocol that has been, provided to us, a little bit ago, a while ago. And so what we have done essentially is work with our regulatory colleagues and then with various stakeholders to review this protocol. And so at this point, we have been able to engage various people, various stakeholders, including experts, and then able to give a tentative approval to this protocol. Now, because of that ability to walk ahead, if there is an Ebola outbreak and we need to utilize this protocol, it will not require a much longer review because we have already seen it, we've already discussed it, we've already looked at all the issues involved with it, and then we've given it a tentative approval along with the regulatory colleagues also. So, so those type of exercises allow us to shorten, the final approval period for that specific protocol. So those are some of the things we try to encourage others to kind of like, engage the ethics committees, much earlier, but, but also, the active interaction with stakeholders who might be doing research with the ethics committees is also crucial because, earlier in the process, if the interaction starts, then it gives a lot of head start into people reviewing and getting various information around it, so that, because most of those things could be that those are the things that are usually involved in delaying approvals and of course bringing together sometimes ethics committee members from diverse backgrounds, diverse fields. Sometimes it's always challenging, and in some situations, people are doing it outside of their main jobs that they do. So, so whatever we can do to kind of ensure that there is a heads up, a head start, before, then that, helps in terms of, expediting the process. But I think the fundamental things that has worked well in Sierra Leone for us during the Ebola outbreak has been really active community engagement and working at the community level for them to kind of really understand and be and provide input into the review process. So they become an active stakeholders in the process.
Sure. Okay. Thank you so much for taking my question. And it is truly an honor and I don't know. I think it's really a good thing that the community, you've been prioritizing it and ensuring that they are the primary stakeholders at a certain point. And now I think my next question will flow nicely to Prof. Sodi, which is, as one of the biggest consumers of digital technology and AI, how do you think digital technologies can help ethics review system respond more rapidly and effectively during public health emergencies without compromising ethical standards?
Yeah, thank you very much, Beto. And it's a pleasure to be invited to this panel of a very, very important subject, leveraging digital technologies to enhance ethics review in public health emergencies. So during public health emergencies, I think it's very, very key to have very speedy ethics review. And so the dilemma there really is speeding up the process of ethics review and balancing the rigor, because there's always this thing that when things are rushed, then rigor is compromised. But I think using digital technologies, and I'll draw some of the experiences from UNZA Break here in Zambia, how we have used digital technologies, and maybe three key ones that I'm going to speak about is online submission. That's number one. Two is AI-assisted review, which we are piloting, and it's really working well. And also virtual meetings. And maybe starting from the last one, virtual meetings taught us, pre-COVID and during COVID, we were able to do a lot of these reviews and have digital meetings via Zoom and so forth. So let me speak to online submissions. Online submissions and previously ethics reviews submissions were done through papers where protocols, hundreds of pages were sent, photocopied and sent to reviewers. So that actually really delayed ethics review. And now with a coming on board of digital systems such as the Reno ethics, which we are using, I think I can safely mention that, since this is sponsored by ethics expert, who basically is the engine behind Reno ethics. We started using Reno ethics pre-COVID, and during COVID, we saw that we needed to quickly review protocols, and it became very, very convenient to have online submission as well as online reviews. And so the only thing that we added was the virtual meetings. So with digital technologies, you see a streamlining of ethical review processes, and now in the AI era, this is now being assisted by an AI. And just to mention here, when we're talking about AI, we are not just talking about AI doing the review, but we have these ethical principles as well as guidelines coded into some kind of a machine learning algorithm, which ethics experts with their partners have developed and integrated into Reno ethics. So as an admin and chair of the ethics committee, this AI-assisted screening and triaging, what it does is that it can actually flag certain things, maybe issues to do with consent, with payment, or with particular regulatory issues that are missing from the protocol. Because remember that during public health emergencies, and especially if you are doing a clinical trial, you will find that these can come between 300, sometimes up to 500 pages. Remember, during COVID, we used to have protocols that would have 300-400 pages, especially on the product itself. There's so much information. So you find that it becomes very, very difficult to to read all that content. But with the AI technologies now, you are able to synthesize and summarize and use particular prompts to actually check where those things are there or not. So AI as well as digital technologies have enhanced rapid review processes, and of course ensuring that there's a human involvement. So not just only leaving AI. And I do like the experience that I've had with Reno Ethics and the Reno AI is because it actually uses the comments that we send to reviewers as an ethics committee, and it refines the algorithm so that it actually adapts to our requirements as well as to our guidelines for ethical review. And I hope that this will enhance transparency as well as accountability, as well as issues to do with the accountability. And let me just end this part in terms of what digital technologies have done. Really, they have enhanced ethics review, of course, with human oversight. Let me emphasize here that when you are using particularly AI, machine learning algorithms in ethics review, we have to make sure that there's always human oversight in final decision making. And then also ensuring data privacy. Of course, there are a lot of issues, algorithm bias and all that. And this is why these algorithms are being trained. The more data we are generating, the more refinement of these algorithms will be. And also building in the standards, and some of these standards are different across jurisdictions or countries. For instance, issues of digital consent, like here in Zambia, our National Health Research Act is very strict with the requirement for written informed consent. So when it comes to public health emergencies, sometimes even online surveys and things like that, countries are now moving towards digital consent. So I thought I could stop here, but I think we can talk more because there's a lot that we can use or leveraging on digital technologies and particularly AI in ethics review. And I hope that in future epidemics or even in the current epidemics like the Ebola, Marburg, we had monkeypox. These technologies can be used to enhance ethics review. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You've touched on quite a few things and benefits of using AI, and I'm hoping that if we do still have regs that are still going with the paper trails, maybe they can also learn one or two things from you and try moving to the online platform or digital leveraging. Although I know that there might be issues around ethical standards and plagiarism and etc., but sure there can be protocols or procedures that are taken, and I'm hoping that one of our audiences might have questions for you. Please do use our chat box if you have any questions for Professor Sodi regarding the AI platform, or rather the digital platform that is being used. And now going back to you, Helen, now that we have opened the topic on the digital platform. And another question that I want to pose to you is, to what extent has Uganda invested in the digital technology as a mechanism for addressing the Ebola outbreak? And how has this helped in promoting ethical oversight of multi-country or cross-border public health research during the global health crisis, such as the current Ebola outbreak in the DRC and Uganda?
Thank you, Lorado. So as everyone is aware, public health emergencies often create pressure for accelerated review of research protocols. So the digital technologies have become essential tools for maintaining continuity of both the NRAs, that is the National Regulatory Agencies, and the Research Ethics Committee's operations during the outbreak. even when physical meetings may be difficult or impossible to be held. So Uganda has invested in digital mechanisms through the provision of an electronic research management system. The previous speaker has spoken about the one in Zambia, but ours is called the National Research Registration Information Management System, which we abbreviate as NREMS. So this one enables online protocol submissions, workflow management, reviewer assignments, tracking protocols for their status, communication between investigators and regulators, and even electronics archiving of the research studies. So two, we have promoted virtual ethical meetings, like the previous speaker has said. So through these digital platforms like Zoom and Teams, the RECs have continued to have even virtual meetings, to hold their meetings during the public emergencies when movement is restricted during such outbreaks. So, however, UNCST as the regulatory body ensures that these RECs maintain quorum and engage external experts, and even their members are supposed to participate actively during those meetings. Of course, during such meetings, somebody will just switch on their computer and then is in the kitchen or somewhere, then they will not participate actively. But we ensure that the meetings are active and decisions are made well. So the third is to have, we have promoted the use of electronic informed consent. This has been clearly put in our revised national guidelines of 2025, which formally recognized electronic informed consent as something that we can do, provided there is confidentiality, authentication, documentation, and participant understanding. All this should be maintained. And this participant understanding it should be done by the researcher informing the participant. It could be deferred consent when the participant wakes up, probably during that time when the disease is really at its intense. So when the person wakes up, the person has to be consented. So that deferred consent is also allowed, but using the e-consenting process. So this approach is particularly valuable during infectious disease outbreaks like Ebola, when it is recommended that even the physical contact should be minimized. Then the fourth is that would be the last, is that we have allowed the use of artificial intelligence, like the previous speaker has said, noting that this should not replace the human touch of review. So it should be done to screen the protocols for completeness, identifying missing regulatory documents, checking consent forms against the guideline and other required documents, and then identifying potential ethical reviews. However, UNCST maintains the ethical decision-making, and it should also be made under the authority of the human reviewers. So this is also emphasized in the WHO guidance documents on ethics and governance of AI. So, Loretta, I want to thank you for that opportunity to speak to our digital technologies, and back to you. Back to you, Lerato.
Loreto, are you there? I think Lorato might have dropped out. Let's see. Let's give her a minute to see if she's able to join. Just 1 minute.
Sorry, I wasn't aware that I was muted. Apologies. Thank you so much, Helen. You mentioned something about electronic consent, and I wanted to ask that not everyone is savvy or is technology savvy. So, what measures are you taking so that people may feel inclusive or included in that procedure?
So you mean being included, as in nobody should be left out? Is that what you
Yes,
mean?
yes. Given that it is an electronic consent and maybe this outbreak or this research includes someone that might not be technology savvy. So how do we then and especially us as African people, where respect is one of the things that we put forward. So how do we then ensure that one doesn't feel disrespected or excluded? How do we then take measures on that?
So of course, the electronic informed consent is for we can say it is for the literate. So those who will not be able to use the laptops or the computers will definitely be left out. But we hope that the researchers who are using such an e-consent mechanism are within the literate communities. Of course, they cannot use the illiterate because they will not know even how to use the laptops. So that is the limitation that the e-informed consent form process has. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. Just to check, is Pofunjai still with us? Pofunjai, can you hear me?
Yes, I'm here. I'm here.
Okay, thank you. I think you have answered the second question that I had
Yes,
for
I can
you.
hear you. I can hear you.
Okay, thank you. So maybe the question that I might have for you is,
Yes.
what are some of the key opportunities and risks of using technologies such as AI and automation in research ethics review? Did you get my question?
So I'll say there are a lot of, yes, I got it. Yeah, I got your question. Hello?
Yes, I can
Hello?
hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Yeah, I think obviously for technology, okay, use of technology, AI, any of the systems, it's very useful for the ethics review processes, for enabling the process, and for increasing speed. But having said that, we should also be a little bit cautious because AI and other stuff cannot um, um, sometimes clearly sense the aspects of emotions or other nuances that are important when it comes to the human um, intervention. And so, yes, they can be tools that can enable us, but we should not use them to replace the human element. Because when it comes to and different scenarios might come with different perspectives, different, and when it comes to issues of justice, issues of respect, issues of safeguarding communities, there might be a lot more of nuances than what may be captured by an AI systems, and even some things that might be of importance to specific communities may not be captured by some of those algorithms. So for now, for instance, in Sierra Leone, we are using technology in terms of submission processes, in terms of enabling us to virtually meet and discuss. And then at the same time, we're still encouraging along with an electronic submission, but also you do a hard copy of doing the traditional way as well of people can submit. But I think that it is great as we embrace the technology, have a nice balance between understanding that ethics is a very big and very broad element, and very, can be a very, very nuanced and challenging thing that still requires the human element. And that is why building human capacity for bioethics is critical. Use of technology is also critical in the process, so that we can enable but also ensuring that we build capacity, starting from schools, universities, expanding our curriculum so we can have more people who are competent in doing ethical reviews, but also ensuring that because the process for some can be voluminous, can be challenging, can be a lot, at least an AI program maybe can help you summarize a protocol, and then you can actually then be able to then understand maybe what are the key elements that are needed, because that can be the challenging thing, to read too many protocols and go through them seriously. So I think it is critical for use of technology, but again, we must approach it with some caution. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much for your input in that. I see that we do have some few questions on AI and other topics that we have touched on. And now moving to my last question to Prof. Saudi, just before the reflections that I'd like the three of you to make. So my last question to you before the reflection would be that we understand that REG operate under constrained resources. Based on your experience of using the AI or the digital platform, how can ethics review committees build the digital capacity and skills needed to effectively use emerging technologies? And what do you think needs to be done by RECs and national governments?
Yeah, thank you very much. And yeah, that's a loaded question, and I think I'll answer it in several things. Number one is issues of skills. Second is the tools themselves, the digital tools, the policy or guidelines, and then also funding and infrastructure. So the first thing is I want to agree with the previous speaker. Skills development in terms of enhancing, first of all, human capacity here is very, very important, and training in digital technologies, and sometimes also change management may be good. I remember for me as the chair, I put my foot down when it came to paper submissions. I still had a number of people who still believed in submitting a hard copy. And then also I had one member of the committee who always insisted on receiving a hard copy. So eventually, something had to give, and so we have now purely gone digital, where all the submissions are online. So we have invested in training, where every few years, when our membership, at least about half of our membership, turns over, we hold workshops to train our staff in digital technologies. I remember the first training we had, Francis had to fly in to train us, but he no longer, it's like we've put him out of business. I now do all the training around here. I hope that is still fine. in digital technologies. Then secondly, it's the tools. Of course, we are, middle low income countries. And so having digital tools has been a challenge. So for us, at least within our institution, we've been allowed to charge for ethics review. So with these amounts that we are generating, we have reinvested to invest in buying laptops, tablets for our reviewers, and even giving incentives for data, because now we expect people to be online to review protocols even while they are home or they're traveling. So ensuring that people have data packets for them to be able to do this. So basically investing in this. And then also in terms of policy and guidelines, to make sure that the guidelines are reviewed and adapted to allow for these digital, for adoption of digital tools and technologies. Then of course the issue of funding itself, because funding becomes very, very crucial. So for institutions as well as national governments, because funding entails the infrastructure itself. Zambia, the last few years, we had a drought. So we were impacted with the power situation. I think I was in South Africa several times. I think you also had those load sheddings and all that. There was a time in Zambia where we used to have like 3-4 hours of power. So on my own personal level, I had to make an investment for solar solutions, battery storage, as well as now we are using, like for us now, we have gone the Starlink way, because we've seen that with the power cuts that we had when the cell towers went down, our local networks, there was no network. So that really affected, and particularly myself as a rec chair who interacts with this system almost minute by minute, hour by hour, I had to invest in a satellite technology to ensure that connectivity was done. So at a national level, basically basic infrastructure for networks, policy guidelines and standards, those are the main issues that we can do to ensure that these digital platforms work. I just want to end also looking at issues of data governance. In Zambia, we have a number of laws and legislations. It's becoming tighter and tighter now, especially with cloud networking and all those issues around hosting of data. There are a lot of gaps in terms of policy or laws that still need to be refined. And I think those are some of the gaps and maybe challenges that national governments can actually address. In a nutshell, I think in terms of emergencies, RECs needs to build capacity in terms of skills. They need tools, particularly digital tools, updated guidelines, policies, funding for networks and for infrastructure. I think I end here. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your input. I think maybe I might have some few questions, but I'm looking at the time.
Yes.
We are only left with 22 minutes, so maybe I will just give the rest of the time to our audience to ask questions if they have, and so you can have the opportunity to answer or take their questions. But just for final reflections before we move to our questions that we have in the chat box, to all our panelists, your final reflections. Looking ahead, what should be the most realistic version for a digitally enabled ethics review system that is resilient, trustworthy, and prepared for future public health emergencies? So anyone can go first.
Okay. Maybe since my microphone is off, it's on, let me go first. So a number of things. So for me, in terms of the future, I'm looking at a hybrid intelligence system. driven by AI, but really supported by human judgment. I think for me that is key, and really to give comfort to Professor Njai to say that the human interface will be key in the digital age. So we want to be fully digital, that is second, and have an integrated system. Then we need very rapid reviews without compromising ethical rigor. Again, that is key. So we need to have this very, very fine balance of rapid reviews with complete ethical oversight. Then also strong data governance frameworks, both legal, policy, guidelines, those things will be very, very key. So for institutions and national governments, it will be very, very important to make sure that our policies align and move with the times. Then, of course, digital literacy will be very, very key, because as we go in the digital, particularly AI era, already some of us are, in the afternoon of our careers, but I do hope that these ones that are coming behind us, they will invest more in digital literacy, because that's where the whole world is going. So, of course, equity and inclusion will be very, very key to make sure that we don't leave people behind. So, as a final reflection, we have to embrace technology, use technology to enhance efficiency, but retain human ethical authority. That's really, I want to balance these two. But let's embed transparency, fairness, and adaptability. So basically, that's my final reflection in the and direction in which we are going. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Prof. Saudi. And Helen, what are your final reflection?
Thank you very much, Prof. Sodi. I think I will not differ very far from you, but the realistic vision is to have a national interoperability, secure and trusted digital ethics system that allows emergency protocols to be submitted with support of the digital systems, protocols to be jointly reviewed by the regulatory bodies to avoid slowness, and then also to track and monitor all these protocols in real time within our digital platforms. So this vision should be strengthened, and there should also be transparency, accountability, and participant protection during emerging and re-emerging public health emergencies. So Uganda particularly has already established a strong regulatory system through our national guidelines. Our previous speaker has talked about having operational guidelines. So we have the national guidelines for research involving humans as research participants, the version of 2025, and also our national guidelines for joint scientific and ethical review of research protocols. So these provide explicit guidance on digital technologies, electronic informed consent, artificial intelligence use, emergency research, collaborative regulatory review. So I implore our participants to either check our website to see these documents, and if they wish to conduct research in Uganda, they will basically use these documents. So I want to thank you very much. Back to you, Lerato.
Thank you so much. And lastly, reflections from Prof. Njai. Do you have any reflections on this?
Yeah, I think I will ditto my previous two speakers. I think that the changing landscape of epidemics and pandemics and other issues with ethics require us to have a fine balance between the use of digital technology and our traditional ethics review processes. And I think that we will need to move further in terms of harmonizing also some of our processes within the African continent. That is something we are working on currently in the West Africa region with the West African Health Organization, where we are trying to harmonize some of our review processes and also create a single checklist that works for different countries, as well as allowing for collaboration and working between ethics and regulatories in the different region. And I know that Africa CDC is also working along this line, along the continental level. And we must also think around how do we strengthen indigenous and traditional knowledge systems within ethics framework, so an African-centered ethics framework outside of what we're used to implementing based on sometimes Western standards. And those African-centered frameworks need to be built into some of the technologies that we are bringing in, whether we are bringing in an AI or any other technologies, because they have to talk to those, speak to those, to be able for us to be able to adequately protect communities using technologies that we are bringing in. So I think for me, that's the way to go as we move forward in the changing landscapes of epidemics and ethics and community needs and understanding. So an African-centered ethics approach, harmonizing some of our processes, and then enabling some of our activities using technology, AI and others, but also customizing those to work along some of our Afrocentric approaches that we may want to utilize for future reviews. Thank you. And
thank you so much to all our speakers for your reflections. And I see that we have 15 minutes left and we have some few questions in our chat box that I'd like us to quickly tackle. And the first question was posed to Helen, and it is from Aminata. Thanking you for outlining Uganda's joint review mechanism for research during public health emergencies in accelerated emergency research settings like Ebola outbreaks. How do joint review mechanisms ensure that informed consent material are not only scientifically accurate, but also linguistically accessible and understandable to diverse participants?
Yeah, thank you very much for that question. So what happens is that we emphasize that the informed consent process or the informed consent forms should be interpreted in a language that is understandable within the recruitment area. So when the public health emergency comes and it's in this probably southwestern part of the country, all informed consent forms should be interpreted within that recruitment area. So in that way, all the participants will be able to understand what is going on, whether their use of the vaccine or the therapeutics, whatever it is, they'll be able to understand and actively participate in the study. Yeah.
Thank you so much. And I hope, Amanita, your question has been answered. And moving to the second question to Dr. Sodi, Prof. Sodi, could you please expand on this? And what role do you see AI playing, not just in review processes, but also in preventing or responding to diseases like Ebola on the ground?
That's a tough question, and probably maybe out of the scope of our discussion. And then because I'm not really an AI expert, but maybe just responding in a lay perspective, because the AI is actually they are actually data driven. So I think maybe learning from previous outbreaks, maybe predictions and things like that. So I think for me, I leaned so much on the use of AI with regards to ethics review, rigor, and things like that. And I think maybe I can also jump to the next two questions, because they are asking about the use of AI in there's a question to say, can you use AI just on the admin side of the protocol as well as in the review? So the answer is yes. So we are using AI in the what you would call the triaging. So in our ethics committee, we do have a checklist. So when somebody submits a protocol there's a checklist of things that they are supposed to put, like the protocol, the consent form, their CVs, their payment, and things like that. So as the ethics chair, I would have to spend maybe 10 to 30 minutes to go through that to see whether this protocol is complete before I can assign them for review. But the AI actually does that, so that when I open the protocol, it already has flags that I'll see that, oh, there's no CV, there's no payment, or the consent form is not there, or there's no address, there are no contact details for the PI. So it has already done that for me already. So, and I can still go and verify that. So it helps in what I'll be calling the triaging of the ethics review. Now, of the protocol, the submission. But then it also does the ethics review, like the AI that ethics expert has developed, which is integrated in Reno Ethics. When you assign a review to a reviewer, and also put the AI, so the AI works as if it's another reviewer. But then the way it does it works in the background, and normally it takes a few minutes to a few hours. So as a reviewer, when you review the protocol, you can actually do a manual review on your own, but then you can also see what the AI has actually found. And then you are actually able to actually go and verify what the AI has said. So for instance, if the AI is saying that maybe it's saying that the amount of compensation was too high, or the recruitment processes were coercive, or there was no informed consent and things like that, you are able to go and verify. And then also the way the AI works is that you can actually edit the response of the AI, accept it, and then it means that that information now feeds back to the algorithm, so that the next review, it will tone down. So meaning that, for instance, our REC, we have particular guidelines. Our country, we have our particular national guidelines. So it means that the AI is actually learning. So that sometimes it will say something which is off or which is wrong. So when you correct that, then it won't do that for the next time. And then it will keep that reasoning behind what you have put. So meaning that the more we use this technology, because it's embedded in our system, the more it will become better and better, to the point where it will become almost like me as a reviewer. Because even me as a chair, when I look at comments that come from reviewers, even without reading who sent those comments, I know that these comments came from this person. So even the AI will learn also. Yeah. So those are the issues. Yeah. Let me stop here. Yes.
All right, thank you. And I think indeed you did answer the two questions that we're following. And yeah, I think you've answered them very well. Thank you for that. And then we move back to Helen. You have another question from Helen. No, from Amanita. Is there a possibility of creating training session, especially technology-focused training for individuals with low literacy levels, so they can be more included? Diversity and inclusion are crucial, especially in developing contexts, instead of leaving people out due to skills that could be learned.
Yeah, I think it is very possible, because our digital transformation systems should be equitable, like Professor mentioned. So I think the training should also adapt those adult learning approaches, which include practical demonstration for especially those low community participants. They should be probably simplified manuals that can be used during the trainings. They should have those demonstration, probably pictures or drawings that they can understand properly. So such approaches can enable the participants with varying levels of digital comprehension be inclusive, gaining the confidence in using the digital technologies. Yeah, back to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your input there. And finally, we have a question to any of you from Beilena. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing your surname. Question for any of the speakers. When we discuss the use of digital technology in ethics review, are we referring to the administrative aspects of the review process, or are we considering the integration of tools, specifically AI, into the actual review and decision making? Where do we draw the line for the integration of digital health technologies into ethics review? I think, Prof. Sodi, you touched a bit on
Yes,
this.
yes, yes.
So,
I actually answered
He's
that
the
question.
expert.
yes,
Yes,
yes.
so the AI is actually like the one we are using. It's actually involved also in the ethics review, and I can tell you that it also gives the final decision. But normally, the way we've done it is that we don't always go with the final decision. So, and even our setup, the way we have set up our system is such that when the review is done, we actually look at the human decisions for us to actually come up with the final decision. And for us, we are based on a 3 reviewer system. So the AI now has become like a third reviewer. And I can tell you, I know that Francis sits on the back end, and because they can even check, I'm sure they'll agree that the AI tends to actually be in between. Like, for instance, if you have 3 reviewers, one accepts, and then one will say minor correction, the other one will say major correction, you'll find that the AI falls always in between. It doesn't give extremes. It will never give like an outright accepting. It is always picking out things. Sometimes it even picks out things that we as a human you may have actually missed. And I remember when we were doing the validation of the AI, I actually thought that the AI is too tough. So I was like, how can we try to make it softer? Because it's really picking a lot of small issues. And then in the final human decision making, you can decide whether those things are significant and override the AI. I think that is the response that I can give. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I think we've reached all our questions. And just to wind up this webinar, I'm going to give each of you 30 seconds to just wind up and give us your final thoughts or anything that you feel like you could have said. And maybe the questions didn't cover that. So 30 seconds for your final thoughts. Any of you can go first.
Okay, I would like to thank you for organizing this webinar, and to note that public health emergencies are really issues that can be handled if the regulatory systems are really convenient for our nations. So we hope that nations can adopt the digital technologies to support the RECs, the national research regulatory agencies during such pandemics, so that protocols can give us information that can build on development of vaccines, on therapeutics that can be used even to address other re-emerging and emerging outbreaks. So I want to thank you very much, and we hope we can learn and have more of these webinars to inform our people in the different parts of the continent. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Helen and Prof. Sodi.
Thank you very much, Loreto and Francis and the AP Expert team for organizing this webinar. I hope that these webinars will be regular. I think we are learning a lot. So my final reflection as we go in the digital age is really looking forward to a resilient, trustworthy digital system that will use technology to enhance efficiency, of course, with a human authority. Then I want to have a smart connected system that will be able to be robust and fast enough for RECs to respond to protocols that are submitted in public health emergencies without compromising the ethical rigor. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Prof. Njai, I think he has left. Prof. Njai, yes, I think he has left. So thank you to the two of you for giving us your final reflection. And I think our takeaway here is we are going paperless now. And of course, we will still be ethical and there'll still be human intervention protocols that we take. So as we wrap up, our time is up. I would like to hand over to Francis for some closing remarks, and then we will be done for the day. Thank you so much for your time. And to our audience, thank you so much for taking this time to joining us in this webinar. Thank you.
Yeah, all right. I really didn't have to come in to pose any closing remarks. I think you have done great. You have done everything. But I want to take this opportunity to really express my gratitude and special thanks, very special thanks to our panelists who have been here to share their massive experiences about this particular topic. As I said at the beginning, this is really, really timely. And with all these experiences that have been shared today through this webinar, I want to believe that it will contribute, or the experiences will contribute to enhancing our everyday practices on the ground as we navigate through these complex dilemmas and complex scenarios. Special thanks to Helen. I know that this, as you know, as this topic evolves, I know it's not theoretical. Things are happening in Uganda. The reality is there. You are navigating through this, practically. And I want to offer my really sincere gratitude to you for making up time, despite all the challenges that are going on there, to come and share your experiences about this particular topic. Thank you, Prof. Sodi. Thank you, Prof. Alhaji. I don't see him here. I think he's left. But thank you all of you for coming. And above all, thank you for the audience who, without them, this would not have been a success. And thank you to you, Loreto. Thank you, Chesrin. Thank you, Colleen. My colleagues are here. My boss has left, Retha. But I want to say thank you to the team that took time to organize this very successful webinar. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
Thank you, and goodbye, everyone.
Thank you, and
Bye.
bye. Thank you, bye. Bye.